Going through the game itself, the focus I want to take a part of today is the defense. And I feel like that they gave you a shot in this game to at least stay in this game. I have a couple of offensive thoughts. A couple of different plays with, there was a time where Lamb and Rush didn't look on the same page. And then the ball that I think there's some conversation needs to be had about the play down the end zone where Lamb lost the ball in the sunlight. But first I want to focus on the overshown sack. We've talked about this on our show, the first overshown sack. We've talked about this on our show about how to use him. And I'm glad to see, and I said it before we went to the Mike McCarthy press conference, I'm glad to see the defensive coaches are trying to do things, and just not say, okay, hey, we're going to roll out the same look every week or the same coverage, or, just they're trying to at least mask some deficiencies or take advantage of some things that they do well.
Yeah.
That's what.
Try and dial it up a little bit.
I think having Micah Parsons back this week really helped.
Yeah.
It helped from that aspect because there's a couple of different rushes here. And the one I want to talk about, like I say, the overshown, the first one, I really, really like what Zimmer did with this design here. And he's going to show, Mike's always going to give you that pressure look with the double A gap look. And he gives you that look, but he's going to drop. Leofau's on the field. They've got Overshown as a rusher. So Leofau's taken Overshown's spot. They've taken a defensive tackle out and they put Overshown in. But what they do is when they drop Kendricks and Leofau, Overshown and Parsons are lining up on the same side. So what that does is now the offensive line is thinking, okay, we got to handle Parsons here. That's the guy that we're going to have to worry about here. But what Parsons does is they double team him, which leaves the running back, and Zimmer gets exactly what he wants. Because we talked about this leading up to this game, that Barkley and Gainwell and those guys had given up some sacks.
Yeah, they can't pass protect.
They can't pass protect all that well, and they gave up. They've gave up some pressures, and they've gave up some sacks. So here we are, a design to get a matchup that's favorable to you, where, hey, let's put one of our better, more athletic defensive players on a guy that can't handle what's going on. So they get the double team they want, and now that puts Gainwell on Overshown. And as you watch the play, he's got no shot.
It's just a blow by.
Just no shot at all to be able to make that play or to get that block.
Hurts was so surprised at that closing speed, too. He was you could see just the blur.
Yeah. There's no question that right there is what, when you have Micah Parsons back in the lineup, it allows you, now the Eagles are like, hey, we got to worry about 11, but we'll watch 13 here. But they get the matchup they want. I applaud them for doing that. The Diggs interception, okay, this is a confusing one coverage-wise to me, but it works out well for the Cowboys defensively. The Eagles are going to flood the left side in order to get Dallas Goedert inside. So they've got bodies to the outside left, so they're going to try and stretch the Dallas secondary here. They're going to stretch them instead of we've seen teams play that condensed look. Their routes are going to stretch, and they're trying to create a seam. Kellen Moore was trying to create a seam along the hash in order to get Dallas Goedert the ball.
Yeah, send one guy to the pylon.
Yeah, send one up the sidelines, one a little bit wider, and then that gets Dallas's defense to have to think more horizontally than vertically.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. It really worked, because what's going to happen is Diggs, and it's the same thing that Dak dealt with in that Detroit game where he threw the interception.
Branch is peeled off.
Branch is reading Dak's eyes the whole time. You see Diggs on tape. Diggs is not buying all the wide stuff. He sees what's happening, and that route goes and there's nobody in the hole there. There's nobody. I mean, Hooker's in the middle of the field, and he's not. There's no way he could react, even though that with the way the width is of the receivers, he should be kind of playing over to his right. But Diggs saves the day on this one because he's looking at Hurts the whole entire time, and you see when he sees it, then he's able to make the adjust interception. So, I mean, there was Wilson and Hooker. Neither one of them are in any position, as I said, to make that play. It was zone coverage across the board. Great job by Diggs of playing in his zone and doing exactly what he needed to do. All right, the Parsons sack fumble. Once again, it's the same look as the previous sacks, except that Leofau comes on the blitz instead of Overshown. So now they're like thinking, they're like, maybe the Eagles made some type of adjustment. 13 is going to be the rusher. Well, Zimmer decides he's going to send Leofau. On this play, though, Osa draws 3 blockers. So Osa is up the field so fast that all of a sudden he's got 3 blockers on him, and Parsons is able to beat Fred Johnson to the inside there. And then that's how was
that a planned stunt, like a loop?
It was like Parsons was kind of waiting, like he was going to see what was going to happen, because they got the blitzer, and it was almost like he was playing a spy. And then he came once he saw Hurts try and step forward, he then stepped up and was able to make the play right there. And that Parsons is when he beats on that, it's like that twist, but it was a little bit of delay to it, is what it was. So that allowed. But when Hurts stepped up, awesome. Parsons was right there to make the play. But great job by Osa to draw the blockers and keep guys pinned away from Micah, and then allowed him to have the ability to go inside and make the play right there. All right, I mentioned I'll go to the offensive side here real quick. And you remember the play where Cooper Rush just threw the ball, and it like CD wasn't even looking at the play, wasn't even looking for the ball. Mm-hmm. He was like going up the field, and the ball just went right by him.
Yes. This
is where I'm kind of worried because, Cooper Rush, he had the drop snap. You think if that was his first start, that's going to be, that's like a kind of a young guy mistake, maybe a rookie mistake. This one was really confusing to me because it appears that Lamb, they were going to run a screen. They were trying to set up the screen, and everybody ran the screen, the blocks, with the exception of the quarterback. The quarterback threw the route. CD was going down the field to block. They're going to try and run the screen going to the right. So you see the linemen start to move. You see Dowdle start to check and then go. But then all of a sudden, I don't know if Lamb and maybe Cooper Rush had sometimes you see like a visual, like he looks over and he sees a coverage.
And I like this. This is a good matchup.
And give him like a nod, or you give the guy a hand,
Yeah.
I like the wipe. I like when they do the breastplate.
This is coming to you.
Wipe,
just like it's coming to you. But I couldn't figure out why that was the case. I couldn't figure out what happened there. But Dallas is trying to run a screen, and everybody runs the screen but the quarterback. That's just, to me, that's a big problem right there. That those guys, 2 veteran players not on the same page, that could have probably, it just kind of makes me wonder, well, what was Cooper Rush thinking there? All right, the ball the final one here, the ball that Rush seemed to threw into the sun. Lamb was the second option here on this play. Oof. I think what happened was that they wanted to go to Ferguson underneath, and Cooper Rush got caught in between, not wanting to throw to Ferguson in double coverage, and then he tried to come back to Lamb. If the first read is Lamb on the shallow cross, it's a touchdown, because what happens, he goes from basically the shadows into light, into more light. So by the time that Cooper Rush came back to him,
he's directly in the light. And so he's open off the jump.
So, but it looks like the plays, because you can see Cooper Rush's head is looking, his eyes are looking right at Ferguson, trying to kind of pivot inside. The double coverage kind of messes him up, and now he gets caught in trying to throw the ball back underneath. But you've got Lamb, like I said, running completely across the field, and he can't see because he goes from the shadows to a little bit of the light to being right in the middle of the light. And that just shows you right there. I mean, if Cooper Rush was afraid to throw the double team, that would have been a tight chance. But that play, if that play goes to Lamb right off the jump, it's a touchdown. But unfortunately, though, he comes back, and by that time,
he waited to the worst possible
time. And by the time he waited and got back to him, he was right in the middle of the end zone, and that's where the light was completely in his eyes.
They know where the sun is.
I love it, Brian. That is terrific breakdown.
Yeah.
My prediction is Jerry will one day use this as justification to ask taxpayers for a new stadium, possibly in Frisco. Oh, stadium's broken, guys. It can't be built.
I saw Shireen Williams was talking about, as a Arlington resident, as a taxpayer, she's like, listen, why do we have a retractable roof? We never use it here. And she was talking about the weather and all that.
Why do we pay for that?
Yeah, why do we pay for a retractable roof and we don't use the roof?